So it's beautiful weather, it's spring, and I thought it was only right to actually come outside, shoot some video, and talk to you guys about walk cycles. Now, walk cycles can be incredibly difficult to actually do. If you're a brand new animator, just getting started, get ready for having difficulties tackling them. And if you're not, and you've tried it, then maybe you are at the point in your career that you're struggling with walk cycles, because it's body mechanics, you have to move the whole body convincingly, and anybody knows when a walk cycle doesn't look quite right. You don't have to be an animation expert to know that something is off with that walk cycle. So, with that being said, I wanted to show you guys a new plugin by Dimitri that I think it will help you guys a whole lot when it comes to actually making walk cycles, at least set up the basis for you guys to work with. So, without further ado, let's get started with another episode.
I most definitely need to start exercising because just walking and running outside took a toll, that's for sure. So here we are, in front of the computer. I have Maya in front of me, and I want to give a big shout out to Dmitry Kolpakov. He is the guy behind this CYCLER plugin. I think he has done a brilliant job. Obviously, the plugin is still in this initial phase, so most likely Dimitri needs a lot of feedback from all of you guys, but I think that this is going the right way, and I have no doubt in a few months, in a few years from now, it's going to be a really good plugin. But for now, I'm going to show you guys exactly how it works, really basics, and then you guys can actually download it and hopefully play with it and see the magic for yourselves. Now, before I go in and actually start showing you guys exactly how the plugin works, a bit of a disclaimer, or a reminder I should say, for all of you, that before you go in to do any walk cycle using a plugin or using plugins overall really, make sure you know the basics. Make sure that you do know how to make a walk cycle by yourself, because what this will do is actually allow you to know what you need to tweak on a pre-made walk cycle like this one that Dimitri has here, right? If you don't really know how to do a walk cycle already and you start with this, all your walk cycles will look exactly the same, and especially as you start working professionally, it's not going to gel, right? So if you know already how to make a walk cycle, you're already a professional and you're looking for a shortcut into getting the basics of the walk cycle faster, then this might be the way, right? So we all need to work fast from time to time. This might save your skin at some point in the future. So let's jump in and have a look. I have here this rig, Ghost Armor rig, that it was made, the rig itself was made by Emilio Serrano, so shout out to Emilio if he's watching this. Now, the CYCLER plugin is generally like you open the folder and then you basically do a drag and drop, and then you have the script here, right, in your shelf, whatever shelf you decide to have it. When you open it, you will see this this little window here. The version that I have, the latest as of now, is 1.1.5, but I know Dimitri keeps updating it very often because I keep getting emails either every week or every other week on new features that have been added. So make sure you check the latest plugin. Whatever the number is, the latest is definitely the one that you want. And the good thing about this is that you don't even have to have M rigs to make sure that this works, because you can assign controllers to this picker, and when you start assigning controllers, it basically takes those controllers and creates a walk cycle out of those controllers. So it's a little bit more hands-on, because you have to go, this is the hand and this is the arm and this is the hips, right? This one here, this is the hips. So as soon as they turn white, the rig has been defined, so you have to go through the whole rig to do it. Thankfully, because this is an M rig, you can just click on auto define and you have automatically all the controllers selected in the proper way that give you the best walk cycles, which is really cool. So whenever you have those selects that you decided to do individually, you can save them. If you have a specific rig, let's say if you work in a studio or you work in a pipeline that you have specific rigs, you can save those presets and then load them again without you having to actually select them every time, which is pretty awesome. So after you actually have all your controllers selected, the only thing you have to do is press start. This will actually load up on the background do some magic, and then you'll see in a second that you have now a menu and you have the character walking, right? So that's pretty awesome. Saves a whole bunch of time. So this cycle is very generic, right? And this is what I was trying to say right at the beginning when I said that please make sure that you know how to actually make walk cycles convincingly before you jump into a plugin like this. Because if you're not careful, all of your characters in all the games and all the scenes that you're going to use this are going to look like this when they walk. Because Dimitri gives us so many presets right here, right? You can actually start tweaking this animation to make it look a little bit more in character before you start really going to town into the graph editor. So I'm happy with the cycle frames, 30 frames. It's a good number. In terms of snap, so if you leave your Maya in play, and because you have caching, you can actually see the results live. So I can actually add more snap or less snap. And this basically holds the frames for a little longer as you are walking and makes it more cartoony. So basically more cartoony or less cartoony, right? So I kind of like this, where this is going. I'm just gonna go with maybe 0.60. So it holds a little bit. Let me just try something a bit more aggressive. Yeah, 0.6 sounds like a good in between. Now the step length, we can actually make it bigger or smaller. That depends on how far apart do you want the feet to go forward or backwards. I think he needs to have a little bit more, so about 60. It's a good number, I think. I tend to use round number for those that don't know, because in development, whenever you work anywhere, using round numbers makes your scene clean, right? So getting the habit of actually rounding up your numbers as you animate, doesn't matter if it's in the channel box, on the graph editor, rounding up your numbers is a good habit. Now, step up, I think we don't need any, but it basically is 9.22, but it's basically how far do your feet go up as they actually walk. I'm going to leave it at 9.22. Feels like a good number. Step wideness, this is how wide do you want the feet to be. This is definitely needs to actually change a little bit, because it feels very much like he wouldn't be able to move his feet very outwards with his armor. So I'm okay with that, I think. Knee wide, this is how wide you want your feet to your knees to actually go out to. Once again, he has armor, so I think they should actually keep fairly straight as they go through. And feet rotate, I think he definitely needs to actually have his feet a little bit more to the side. He's a big fella, so you want his feet to kind of like be almost like that as he goes by. So it's starting to look a little bit more convincing now. I like that. Okay, contact angle. When you hit the floor, and top tip for you guys, I like to create a volume plane to see how the foot hits as the stride is happening. So in this case, I'll create a plane just so I can see what is happening with the foot as he strides right there. Another perhaps a suggestion for Dimitri is to be able to undo. At the moment, there's no way for you to undo. If you press undo, nothing happens here. So undo is definitely something very, very needed on this tool. So you kind of have to remember the numbers as that they were there before if you want to revert back to them. At this point, I'm pretty sure Dimitri will actually get to it at some point to be able to get an undo. So the contact angle, I would like for it to be a little lower. So I think that's too low. Let's leave it up. Yeah, that's fine. Fly angle, it's how much your foot actually goes forward and back, or rotates forward and back, I should say. Once again, he has an armor, so you have to keep that in mind that he doesn't really intersect too much. So that's good enough. Floor angle, I'm not going to change that, but that's actually very good, especially for games when you want to transform a walk forward or walk backward into a walk going up ramp or down ramp, and this is actually really cool. So I'm just gonna give you guys like a little flavor of what it is. But if I'm walking here, then I can actually change to make sure that my feet are now connecting with a downslope. For now, we find at 0. Brain cankles, we don't need it. And then I think when it comes to the feet, I think we're good. So let's look at the pelvis. What is the pelvis doing? We're gonna look at the ups and downs of the character. So yeah, so I think that actually changes how far you go down. And then, yeah, this is the bounce. So one must be like going up and the other one must be going down. I kind of like the bounce of the character right here. Going, yeah, it looks quite nice. Maybe I'll kind of reduce it a little bit. Cool. And now is hips going left to right. So do I want, oh, let's move that to 9 minus 1.50, and then left to right is here 6.31. So let's see. Yeah, no. Let's move it less, because at the moment, basically what I'm trying to do is kind of like sell that sense of stiffness. So he has pretty much no left to right. Yeah, that's better. So basically zero that out. Forward and back as the hips are, as he's moving forward. 2.77. I think that's a little bit stiffer, so that's good. I'm going to leave the pelvis as is, because my biggest problem right now is actually how much he's rotating his shoulders backwards and forwards. So I'm going to look at the chest, and I'm going to look at the torso bend. So I think that's more in character right there. Feels like the geo is deforming less. So that torso bend looks a little bit better. And then torso tilt. So how far it goes backwards and forwards. So I think he needs to go a little bit forwards as he's moving. Yeah, that's better. It's almost like he's catching himself a little bit better. Up and down. 184. That makes it bounce a lot. I like that. That is actually automatic cartoon feel. Look at that. Point, 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 point. That's really cool. Once again, this actually works fine as it is. Once again, depends on what you're trying to achieve. I am actually going to make it boring and take all the up and down off and just make it super stiff, just like that. And then I'm going to change, this is the axis I'm guessing, X, Y, Z, rotation. So I need to actually have less rotation on, which axis is it? On Y. So I'm going to make sure that I'll find the Y and reduce it. Yeah, so that's better. That's a little less of a going back and forth. That looks more stiff. That looks better. All right, so do we actually want to change any of the axis? Let me change that as well to match. Yeah, so that feels better. Look at that. That feels a little bit more rigid. Okay, so, and then finally, I think this rotation needs to be slightly less, so that stiffness really is there. Okay, cool. So we got that done. Neck and head, I think I'm happy with, because he really doesn't have a neck. He's just floating there, so I'm just going to ignore that. I do need to look at the arms. The arms at the moment are kind of like really flailing back and forth right there. And I think I need to address that. So let me see. Shoulders. That's how much the shoulders go up and down. So I'm going to leave the shoulders at 0, so they're stiff. And then I think this at 0 is fine, because he's actually a big fella. Now the arms, this is XYZ for the arms, so I'm guessing that 30, they need to flail a little bit less, so they're going forward and back. Yeah, so that looks a little bit better. Now I need to actually change that rotation on Y to see if I can actually get that rotation to be a little bit more stiff, because he's kind of like doing this. So I want to remove that, because it would probably be very difficult to do that with an armor on. So let's see if I can find the axis for that. All right, that's the one right there. So, okay, so let's see. We start here and here, perhaps. There you go. I think we got it. Cool. There's still a little bit of too much rotation on the hands. Let's see if we can actually get the wrists to kind of like look slightly different. Let's see. Not really. Yeah, not really at this point. Okay, no problem. I'll change it in my graph editor. So now we also have fingers. This is really good, because instead of his hands being 100% straight, we'll actually bend the fingers a little bit more and make sure that the hands are a little bit more relaxed, and as they should be. I mean, he has metal gloves, so you know they cannot be 100% relaxed, but as relaxed as possible. So let's see if we can get the hands to be a little bit better. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with that. I think that actually works much better. Obviously, you know, if I were to do a walk cycle, I'll work on this like little feather thing that he has here on his head and stuff. But at this point in time, I think this is good. And I would actually go ahead, basically, now that I have this, I would save this first and foremost, of course. And then basically after this is saved, I would bake and delete. And basically at this point, it means that I can actually select my whole rig and work on my walk cycle as normal, right? So I have my graph editor here. It looks like it looks as if it was mocap, but like to me, I can actually work with this like this. It's actually quite easy. Pre and post, first thing that I should do, and then make sure that my keys, and let me just bring this here so you guys can see. So I just made a pre and post, and then basically here at this point, I'll make sure that these things cycle correctly as I go through my walk cycle, right? So same thing as you would do normally with any walk cycle, but at least this is done and is looking good, right? So at this point, you can actually make sure that, you know, your animation can go further and be better as you actually work on your animations. So that is basically CYCLER. Really cool plugin, lots of potential, and I think that a lot of people out there need this plugin to actually make their life a little bit easier. But just make sure, once again, that you know how to do walk cycles before you actually get in and do and use this plugin, because if you don't know the basics, it's going to be very difficult for you to know what to change to make sure that you then, when you get into the graph editor, you can actually make it better, right? And to make sure that it feels unique. It doesn't feel like a generic walk cycle, because no one likes that. It's kind of boring. And that's all I had for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, shout out to my Patreons, because they actually support me every month. If you like to support me, this channel, and what I do, then feel free to either comment, subscribe, and like, or if you want to take it a step further, then definitely go over to Patreon, check my perks. It'll be highly appreciated. All the money that I get goes straight into this channel to make sure that it's as good as it possibly can be. That's all I had for you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. And until then, stay well, stay safe. Peace.